Viewer discretion advised.
Night falls, and this is the judgment, that men love the darkness rather than the light. Hello, freaks and freethinkers. This is Radio Ghost Town, and I'm your host, Deep Amber, coming to you from the relative safety of an undisclosed location. Tonight, we continue our ongoing series, The Serpent Whispers, investigating and exposing the greatest conspiracy in the history of the world. If you're wondering why things look a little different here tonight, long story short, we ran into some problems last month and finally worked them out today, just before our usual showtime. So, since we've been radio silent for so long, I told Travis to fire up the old transceiver and we'd have a cozy little fireside chat. The end of the world is upon us, and it's going to be quite a show. The total polarization of forces is pulling people into two distinct camps. And as the narrowing continues, everyone will be forced to choose a side in this, the last great clash between two kingdoms. At this point, I think it's pretty evident the fallen world's last religion will be Satanism. The serpent will have his day. In fairness, it's kind of already here. I hope he enjoys it while it lasts. His faithful meat puppets, the sweaty-palmed, perverse weirdo elites who have been pushing Satanism for centuries behind the scenes, have finally managed to bring old Lucifer mainstream, but they can't even really enjoy the victory as the rumblings of an awakening fill the air. Sure, SatanCon was a thing that happened. By all reports, they had a very large crowd and shredded some Bibles, which one assumes is what the devil does in his weekly therapy sessions. Cries a lot and tears pages out of the good book. And after-school Satan clubs are springing up all over, protected by a federal judge, just in case Satan didn't get enough one-on-one time with your kids during regular school hours. But the branded administration's education, indoctrination, excuse me, department is really worried that kids might engage in prayers or religious activities. You will not organize or encourage anything that favors religious speech such as prayer. Spoiler alert. Satanism is a religion, Sparky, but it's also a religion of lies and hypocrisy, though, so carry on, I guess. The Dodgers have their anti-Christian drag group prancing around as sexualized nuns, performing lewd acts and faux crucifixions, which reminds me of the 2023 Rio de Janeiro Carnival, which treated the audience to the usual devil worship, simulated sex acts, and blaspheme elements you can find in most secular concerts and top 10 music videos. The only thing really worth mentioning was the man in the devil suit who strutted down the street, beating and stabbing a skinny little fellow dressed as Jesus with his pitchfork. That's a reoccurring theme these days, inverted reenactments that try to make Satan look powerful and victorious and Jesus look all wimpy and defeated. Somebody got his tail whipped 2,000 years ago and he's still a little salty about it. It's what I call a satanic self-soothing ritual. It's the performance art equivalent of the devil sitting in a corner, hugging himself and rocking, mumbling affirmations under his breath. It's pathetic, really. Speaking of satanic rituals, I'm sure you've noticed the push among respectable perverts in universities and institutions to substitute the term minor attracted person for pedo. There's also the weird obsession among leftist lunatics to medically mutilate every child they don't murder in the womb. And the UN, along with the World Health Organization, may fire from heaven consume them, as it did Sodom, called for the worldwide acceptance of pedos as an orientation, and says that children should be sexualized essentially from birth. Echoing the sentiments of occultist, child molester, and walking, talking dung heap, Aleister Crowley. Big surprise. This all goes hand in hand with the explicit porn books in school libraries and the terrifying uptick in human trafficking, missing children, and the online sex trade, which even lamestream media had to admit is using pizza emojis to traffic in abusive material and set up in-person meets. Gee, that sounds a lot like something that starts with pizza and ends with gate. Satanism is fueled by blaspheme and sexual perversion. It feeds on the abuse of children. These things are inseparable. Read my lips. Satanic ritual abuse is real, and all sexual exploitation of children is satanic. This is why, as Satanism makes itself at home in polite society, Christianity is being vilified and kids are being sexualized. But remember what we said. The serpent and his meat puppets have thrown this thing into overdrive, pedal to the metal, no holds barred, hair on fire. They're the compulsive gambler with nothing to lose, wiping the flop sweat out of their eyes just long enough to bet it all on their final hand of cards. And their panicked downhill run to perdition is largely responsible for snapping people out of their slumber and inspiring them to join the fight. Thanks a lot, devil, you loser. Famous news commentators are talking openly about the battle between good and evil. Brave people, like the literal heroes of Operation Underground Railroad, are rescuing victims from human trafficking and exposing how rings of pedophiles operate. Their movie is finally being released, by the way. The Sound of Freedom. Watch it. Support them. So many insiders are speaking out. People from Richie the Barber to China Ann McClain. People who are sick of Hollyweird, the perversion and vice, are stepping out of the shadows. Look it up. Both sides are giving it all we've got, and we're going to see some great victories, but there are definitely some dark days ahead. This is the foreshadows of Revelation 12:12. The devil has come down to you in great fury because he knows his time is short. The takeaway here is they are afraid of us. That's why they're going out of their minds trying to make Christians look like the problem. You see, no number of blasphemous drag queen shows or sweaty guys in devil costumes on parade floats can change what actually happened so long ago when Jesus beat the devil with a big ugly stick, leaving him beaten, bruised, and brain damaged before returning to our dimension to resume physical form in his resurrected body. And his eyes are like a flame of fire, and his feet are like fine brass refined in the furnace, and his voice is like the sound of many waters, and his face is like the sun shining in all its strength, and he is the first and the last. He is the one that liveth and was dead and is alive forevermore, and he has the keys of death and of hell. And the devil is a pathetic little loser who, when Jesus returns to set up his earthly kingdom, won't even rate him getting off his horse. Read it, Revelation 20. The serpent has spent thousands of years trying to prove how big and bad he is, and in the end, his arch nemesis isn't even going to dismount long enough to deal with him himself. There'll be the devil, hair scorched, blinded by the glory, screaming his head off. And Jesus will just shift in the saddle and say to the nearest angel, not even the biggest, just the nearest, take that thing out and chain it up before the neighbors start complaining. And that will be that for El Diablo Flaco. We can all look forward to laughing and pointing when the time comes, but between now and then, we've got a war on our hands. Hold the line, freaks and freethinkers. Give no quarter to the enemy. Now, for the record, Satan is alive and active in the world today. He is your mortal enemy with just one goal, to destroy you body and soul. The good news is we have a champion. His name is Jesus. Jesus is the only way to God, and the Bible is our only source for absolute truth. Together, they are our only hope for salvation. I'm Deep Amber, and this is Radio Ghost Town.
God is a shield for those who trust in him, so do not be moved by fear, but rather by faith in God and his word, and don't buy the lies.
At Fly by Light Media, we choose freedom over comfort and truth over popularity. We hope you will too.
And you can buy these cool new Radio Ghost Town tees and mugs through the link in the description, and be sure to watch more videos.
Together,
we are Fly By Light Media, and we rise to shine.